Hey guys, it's Ukrianian, and welcome back to another video. In this I'm analyzing the Donetsk front and the recent updates here, as well as what they mean for the future going forward. Remember to subscribe if you like the video. Okay, so the recent reports actually suggest that the rest of Pisky has been taken by the Russians, with signaled by the case of the bridge being taken. Which means that what's ahead of them is either for them to go straight ahead to Pervomaiske, or they can go northeast to Vuhledar, which both of them the Ukrainians have been preparing defenses at for over a week, meaning that they never expected to take back Pisky in the first place. Now, the significance of this is actually huge, as the biggest city and most fortified area is Avdiivka, in this front line. With how it's already being attacked from two sides, all the Russians need is to advance further northwest of Avdiivka to make an operational encirclement. So what's happening right now is the Russians, with the capture of Pisky, will have to either go north, northeast, or east. They have these three options, where the first one, going to Ukriane, will allow them to Pincer it and take it over, then followed by further going up north. But this will leave the Ukrainian with the ability to pincer attack their offensive here. So they're most likely going to go for option 2, which will be going to Vuhledar and supporting that by attacking Sjeverne and Vuhledar as well here, which will cut off Ukriane, which will force the Ukrainians to either fall back to Vuhledar or to Pincer attack here with a supported division from Avdiivka. However, this will leave their northern side exposed, so that's unlikely, which will mean that with the capture of Vuhledar, there will be a connection between these two armies, and they'll be able to attack Sjeverne, and further up north, be able to push on towards Lastokne, before finally arriving here. So Krasnohorivka is actually a very important defensive position for the Ukrainians. If if they lose this, the Russians will have achieved a full encirclement of Avdiivka. While if we look at the northern side, we can see that the Russians are actually fighting right here. If they take this, there's nothing between the Russians and actually going up north here. So if the Russians manage to take this village down here and Vuhledar to the northeast, they will be able to circle around and take this whole area, which is actually very difficult to go through, as all of this is open area where the Ukrainians can just shoot artillery down at them, while the Russians have to move their artillery up first. So this is definitely a better option for the Russians. However, with the open ground, it's easy for them to be targets by Ukrainian anti-tank guns. However, it will also make them fast at advancing. And possibly they also have the option to go to Netailov, which actually is next to this river, or a pool of water, which will actually be able to have as a natural barrier between the Russians and further Ukrainian reinforcements. And pushing further up towards this bridge here, cutting this off, and having a defensive line across this valley here, and the one here, they'll be able to actually take this whole area, which is very lacking of urban areas, which is where the Russians are actually strongest, which is why the Ukrainians set up this defensive line, as they know that once they have been taken over, this is all free area for the Russians to have the advantage in, with both their equipment and their experience. So essentially, Pisky is the key for the Russians to take Avdiivka, which is the key for Russia to actually push all the way up north to Pokrovsk. There's no significant defensive line between Pokrovsk and Donetsk other than Pisky, Avdiivka, and Krasnohorivka, and Marinka. These are all the important villages and cities on the Donetsk front. And if we check further north, there's actually reports of either fighting or capture by the Russians on Alexandropol, which is actually very significant, as it allows the Russians to actually cut off this road, which provides help and supplies to Krasnohorivka, and will also allow them to attack further west at around Novokalinov, which will eventually, if with the capture of this, they will be able to cut off this road here and prevent the Ukrainian defenders at Avdiivka from retreating, except for this road here, which they can cut off from the south. So the longer we go, the more it looks like an encirclement of Avdiivka is underway and in the works. At the same time, it's only a question of time before the fall of Marinka and Vuhledar, which are both also under heavy attacks, which will allow the Russians to connect these offensives, which will allow them to capture this area, as it's mostly flatlands here as well, which is where the Russians, again, they have an advantage. As it allows them to make use of their heavy weapon advantage, especially now where most of Ukraine's heavy weapons are actually sent all the way to the south, to around Kherson and Mykolaiv region, as well as Zaporizhia, which is under heavy shelling, even inside the city itself, which is actually very significant, as it prevents Zaporizhia is the main road between Kherson and Donetsk. Otherwise, you'll have to go through to the north through Dnipro, which is a longer road for them to travel to the front line. And all of that is even if they are willing to send reinforcements to the Donbas region, as it seems so far that it looks like they are willing to give it up, but with a fight. So they are holding the lines as much as they can. But once we see a breakthrough, like we saw it around Popasna, they will start retreating like they did at Lysychansk to prevent as many casualties as possible and make it as hurtful to the Russians as possible. That's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed, and see you next time.